you come to a session and you lay down, and then this, what we call an energy transmission, happens. So there is a facilitator in the room, a person like me, who is trained to hold these really high energetic frequencies that are related to KAP, as well as a very high state of consciousness, non-dual consciousness. There's a lot of concepts coming in here. And because this energetic frequencies goes up and this non-dual state of consciousness comes in, your body and your being can start to resonate with that and opens up this level on energy within you. So I think we could even take a podcast just talking hours about what is Kundalini, but let's for now state it's life force energy, and a lot of that you are born with. It is stored within your body. And when we are grown-ups, we come to this phase in our lives where our body is grown, our social and cultural upbringing is sort of done. And this is when we could get ready to open up these energetic, powerful states that are also part of us. But we have forgotten that a bit in our world.
So, I was very skeptical at the beginning. And one of the questions that came up was, why should I do something like this? Why would I? I'm not talking even about the how or how it compares to other Kundalini modalities out there. For the people that are new to this, the why is always an important question. Why should they attend a session, or why should they at least get intrigued in this?
So I strongly believe when we come to this level of work, it is no longer about me doing a sales pitch about why you would want this.
Exactly.
But that's something within you kind of says, I don't really understand, or I'm maybe even very skeptical, but something within me feels like, yes, I want to experience this. And so what I can relate it to is how this came onto my path, because I've been a yoga trainer, yoga teacher, and I've also trained yoga teachers along the way for many, many years, work with breath work, with meditation, with training people to understand spiritual concepts. And we work obviously a lot with ice as well.
Yes, and breathing.
But in that path of my work, I started to constantly bounce into a couple of things that happen. So when people do yoga, even when they do it not just for the physical benefits, but for the more inner benefits, for like coming to that state of freedom or wholeness, what I notice, this is with meditation and all the others as well, is that at some point people get stuck in the idea, am I doing it right? Right? Am I doing it right or wrong? Why am I not moving forward? Am I standing in my downward facing dog right enough? Am I doing it right? Am I holding my meditation long enough? Am I thinking the right thoughts? Am I breathing enough?
Yeah.
Why? And people start to believe in the method, in the means, in the training wheels, right? The asanas.
We always call it like the
wheels,
training wheels.
right?
Every modality out there is just a training wheel to unlock something that was already there in the first place.
Exactly. So if I do this method, this technique well enough, I will get to that state of oneness or freedom. Or if I meditate long enough, then finally it will come to me. Or the other thing that happens is people start to believe in the teacher or the guru or whoever they go to. Like they are so special, so they can do it for me. But when I or we go into our deepest state of inner practice, it is not about the technique anymore. It is about a state that you come in. Yeah. It is an opening where everything is everything and where the technique melts away and you just are that.
Yeah.
Right? So in my work, I've been like 10 years finding language, finding context to get people to finally break out of the idea that the technique or the teacher is the key, but that it's within them. And I was starting to get fed up with, again, going into the warrior 2, 3, 4, meditating more. And then I saw KAP coming by on social media.
And I think you were skeptical also
I
a little
was
bit.
so skeptical.
Yeah,
I saw this
because
thing-
if people would come across it on social media, I mean, you were skeptical, and then you became a facilitator. I was skeptical. If they come across it, what would they see on social media? Because it's different than all the other social media posts you see out there.
Right. So what you typically see, because that's like the thing that we can show visually,
Exactly.
is that you see somebody standing and doing things with their hands, walking around somebody or a group. And then you see the people receiving, laying on a mat, or sometimes sitting or standing, making all these, dance-ish movements, right? So the first video I ever saw was these really pretty people making these dancey movements in a very beautiful environment. And my first thought, and I'm going to be very unfiltered about this, is what the fuck is this for social media spirituality trend with pretty people and flowy dresses doing twirly things?
True. Yeah. And also like the physical movements for the person that is receiving. When I saw it the first time in my own social media timeline, the reference in my mind was that I was like, hey, that looks like an exorcism. and that, yeah, to be honest, didn't help with the level of acceptance until you dove deeper into it. And that brings me back to the question I asked you before. Because we're not talking about a sales pitch. You said, hey, I don't want to, let's say, move it into a sales pitch. But for people that seeing this on social media, that we're talking about the journey that you've went through, but you also guide so many group sessions. What is the feedback that you're getting from people, that what they experience in their everyday life? Because that's the outcome. It's we're talking now about the visual aspect. We talk a little bit about the concept itself, but what is the outcome for a lot of people, or words that they give back?
Okay, so I have to go one step back, because we went to the skeptical and seeing that. We have to put that in context as well, right? So for me, seeing that first, it was like a no, but something within me, as I said, it's not a sales pitch.
No.
But you have to find that something within you is curious or wants to go there.
Of course.
So I started researching and reading about Wen and Wang, who put KAP into this world. And there things started to click, because it made a lot of sense that what KAP is about is activating and actually reconnecting our human consciousness to our energetic reality, which is part of us, but we have forgotten. And there I felt this, yes, it felt, and then I started to realize this might be what I've been asking for within, like, give me something to tractor beam people into this state of wholeness instead of talking about it or practicing with skills to get there. Okay, so that's when I found my first KAP facilitator, did my first session, and boom, love was on. What people experience during a session is different from what happens in their lives afterwards.
Yeah.
Because now we take away the techniques and we go straight into what your subconscious, what your nervous system, and what the higher intelligence of your life know is needed for your next step in your evolution. So this might be that within a session you get experiences like emotional releases, feeling energy in the body. Some people see lights, colors, visions, like in deep breath work or with plant medicine.
Yeah.
People start to, their physical bodies can start to resonate, and that's when you see those movements, which kind of look either pretty or freaky, but when people feel them, it feels very natural. People always say, like, that felt really good and natural, like it was exactly what I needed to do that. Or you can transport into a state like with a deep meditation, like 10 days of Vipassana or plant medicine, but in a different way, into that state of union, oneness, right? So that's in a session, but afterwards is when it really happens. So it's like a kickstart of an inner motion, of an inner becoming aware of parts of yourself. And then in daily life, people report back feeling their boundaries more easily, being more connected to their intuition, having a closer relationship with their emotions and understanding them not as wrong but as a guiding system, being more able to connect to creative flow. But also senses becoming sharper, becoming opener, seeing more clearly, colors more clearly, tasting more clearly, hearing better, feeling more sensitive. And therefore there is more consciousness about what is within me that is holding me back from my next step in evolution.
So if I would sum it up, insights about self and about life, enhanced way how you move through life with your senses. Your sexual life is changing.
Well, that's especially for
But
us.
that's a different podcast.
It
But
could
that's
be.
also what you get back sometimes, right?
Yeah.
That it's getting that. And in a way, a little bit like that, that's people, let's say that's also what you say with people start to trust more on their feelings. But also in a way, instead of living constantly in their mind is what I did myself a lot in the past, but also with a lot of people we work with, they live in their head, and in a way the feelings are always overruled, almost like a computer program with their mind and all their beliefs about self and life, and in a way that disappears more and more, or it balances out in a more healthy way.
Exactly. So that's where instead of saying, oh, I'm only living in my head or only
Exactly.
living in my heart, there comes this reconnected
Exactly.
being.